It's the 30th of July 2024. You're welcome back. It's about midday. ESB gas bills. Now, before I start talking about this old pet subject of mine, I want to just make two factual statements. I'm not sure anyone can take this in. The form of mathematics involved is not complicated by any standard, but it's a bit unconventional, and it only about 1 in 400 can actually grasp it. The first thing is that if you take it at the moment, there are around 2,500 industrial wind turbines in the Republic of Ireland and about another 700 in the north. It's 4,000 megawatts plus about 5,500 megawatts on the island. So it's about 2,700 turbines all in, roughly. Now, if you were to multiply that by a factor of 179 billion, a million has 3 noughts after it, right? Sorry, a 1,000 has 3 noughts after it, a million has 6 noughts after it, and a billion has 9 noughts after it. And we're talking about 179 billion big wind turbines in Ireland. Now just imagine that. Now come along, if you want to, and you don't have to do this, it makes no difference on the outcome. Put that amount in every county, and there are 32 counties in Ireland. The grid is to some degree interconnected a little bit. Now you have that many wind turbines that when you'd fly in an airplane over Ireland, all you'd see is these white things all over, like a hedgehog's back. I can't emphasize it enough. We'd have to allow that there'd need to be space for a man to walk between them. There'd have to be a space for roads, etc. Right? If you had that, and there's no coal, oil or gas powered generation in the grid, let's say they can't get coal, they can't get oil, and they can't get gas, and they have no imported wood from America. So you have no power from fossil fuel or wood at all. You can't use any of the wind energy. You can't use it at all. It has no synchronous value. The grid runs at 50 hertz. It's the fossil fuel generators that keep it stable. The wind energy is only an addition that lifts the load a wee bit, like pushing a car during the snow. That's the first thing. The second thing, if you had all those wind turbines, on a calm day you have no electricity at all. If there's a wee bit of wind blowing somewhere, then a few of them will generate, the rest will make nothing. So the cost of all those billions of windmills would amount to probably every person on the island would have to be a millionaire to pay for it alone. And so because they wouldn't be generating power, the companies would be broke and the taxpayer would have to step in to bail them out, which is exactly what has happened. Colin McCarthy, the economist, said that would happen, and it has happened. Now, if you had, instead of the wind turbines, the whole country covered in solar panels, none of it can be used at night, none of it can be used on a dull day, or very little. A little can be used on a bright day, but none of it can be used without coal, oil or gas already in there. And the rate for wind energy and for solar is about 36% fossil fuel must be there. Are you with me now? Now, that means that bit of it is a fact. Nobody can deny that. That's true. I go further to say that they're net consumers of electricity. Moreover, in England and Britain and Ireland, there's a plan to put that much more out offshore. Now, we're going to look now and see what's happening. And I'll read this article from the Irish Examiner. Quarter of Irish household gas bills are in arrears last April. That's the gas. Now, I've been long trying to get the energy regulator not to put gas and electricity in the same thing. Radio Television constantly uses the word energy, but gas and electricity is two totally different things. Irish households are collectively almost 150 million euros in debt on their energy bills. New figures have revealed, owing to the average of over OWING, an average of 450 euros each household on their electricity and nearly 240 on gas. And to my way of thinking, that 690 euros is the arrears in debt of Irish households as of the date of this report, published the 29th of July, 2024. It comes as the Society of the St. Vincent de Paul said it was receiving a higher number of calls from people seeking help with their energy bills as consumers are warned they could face tax hikes on their bill. So as all this is happening, the way Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are going to deal with this is increase the amount of tax they pay on their electricity bill. Some of you will be smart enough to understand that putting tax on people who are broke is a bit counterproductive, but this is the way Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael think. As consumers were warned they could face hikes. Now, the VAT on electricity is 25%. Not sure about gas. There are also concerns that the government may include energy credits, may not include, sorry, I didn't read it right. I was doing a bit of work with an oily environment and my glasses is dirty, I'll have to wipe them. There are also concerns that the government may not include energy credits in the upcoming budget, as it has in previous years, potentially adding further pressure to struggling households. Well, it's hard on households, I admit, but it's hard on governments to put in this, and it's hard on householders. But the only way you'll make households vote Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael is to tax the daylights out of them, break them, load them down so that they're eaten out of dustbins. That's how you get people to vote Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. And tax them on the double. And when they can't pay the bill, put up the tax and make St. Vincent de Paul pay it from the Churchgate collection. In a change from its approach to publishing details on levels of arrears Irish households are facing, the Commission of Regulation of Utilities has included the value of such debt in their figures for the first time. So this crisis is at least 12 years old, and it's not until now that the Commissioner for Utilities Regulation decides to give the figures. So where was this commission before? It's part of the racket. And all it's given now is very little. I met them for 2 hours. Total screwballs. Totally ignoramuses. All on this government hymn sheet. It shows that in the first quarter of 2024, Irish households were 105 euros in arrears on electricity bills. I must pay my own. My own I haven't paid it. I have to go in later on and pay it. I just forgot. But I paid them all. 105 euros, 80.85, 105 euros we'll say, arrears on electricity bills, and 41 in arrears on their gas bills. So I can add that up. I was in school till I was 12. So that to me makes 146 euros per household. Average. And I'm not included in that. The average owed on electricity was 454, while it was 239 on gas consumers in arrears. Well, the gas is one thing, but the electricity, you're paying for all the coal, oil and gas to generate the power, all of the grid networks for wind energy, and you're paying for the wind energy which does nothing, and now you're paying the late John Bruton's estate for a big heap of solar farms up in Ashbourne on the best land in the country, and yet all this has to be paid for. And now I checked the accounts of the Irish wind farms and they're all busted. They're all living off these companies. So in addition to them getting bailouts from government, what they get is the parent company, such as the National Toll Roads or the ESB or whatever, they forgive them their debt. So when a wind farm is built and nobody wants it, the likes of the ESB comes in and buys it, or toll roads, or SSE electricity, they buy it, giving the person that built it 100 million, getting him out, he clears his debt, and when he gets the money, they never claw back the capital cost. All they get is the interest. They forgive the debt. Eddie O'Connor, the late Eddie O'Connor of Mainstream Renewable Power, went over to South America and he thought he'd get away with the same racket. And somebody in the government over there in Chile said, oh, hold on a minute, you have to pay. If somebody buys your wind farm, they have to charge it and get the money back. No, that's that's not how we do it now in Ireland and in Europe. And his company's gone wallop. Huge claims in the court. Now, do you understand that? Are some of you intelligent enough to understand that? If you buy a house, you pay the capital sum over the mortgage period, 25 years, and you pay the interest rate every year. And the interest starts up high and then the capital goes up high, and that's how you pay it. With the wind farms, they can sell the wind farms to the ESB or Scottish Electricity, and all that has to be paid is the interest on the loan. The ESB will not pay their lender or whoever it is the capital cost. So the wind farm company, to make it simple, if their capital cost was 100 million, they never have to pay a halfpenny. It's all forgiven, but they have to pay the interest. I've looked at some of them up to 14 years and there's no capital cost being paid, and the lifetime of the wind farm is 20 years. Is anyone that doesn't understand that, will you post underneath and I'll explain it again? Because it gets so laborious trying to explain such obvious, simple things. It is hard work on me. And that cost that they don't recover for the capital cost of the wind farms to buy goes on your bill, goes on the ordinary Mary Jane and the woman with the family and the meter on the thing you have to put in the €2 to boil the kettle. The average owed electricity was 454, while it was 239 on gas. So again, 600, add that up, 454 and 200 is 654, and add 29 up on that and it's roughly 690. The figures show that the amount owed by consumers in arrears has risen steadily in recent years, because the price has gone up and up and up and the wages don't equal it. In the wake of the surge in energy prices following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, that is an absolute lie. There's only a minor increase in the price of agricultural diesel, and I can get kerosene a lot less. That's a lie published by the Irish Examiner. It's not to do with the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. There's a little. It's nothing to do with it. Wind companies and solar companies get the price of fuel. So if fuel was 100, we'll say, they get 100. If fuel was 70 million, they get 70 million. They get the fuel price. This is the lie they are telling us. In the last 3 months of 2019, now we're back a few years here, 2019, households collectively owed 53 million on their electricity bills. Okay. This then peaked to 111 million for the third quarter of 2023. So it goes up from 53 to 111. And in that period, the amount of wind energy increased and the amount of solar farms increased, and the electricity and the fossil fuel went up a little. And don't forget, all these windmills and solar farms have to get huge amount of fossil fuel generated electricity. And the data centers are gobbling it up, and we don't know yet who pays for it. It's more than likely the bill payer. I don't know. The figure also revealed that 25% of households were in arrears on their gas bills, a higher proportion than reported in the CRU figures. Well, the CRU is the Commission for Utility Regulators. It's their figures they're quoting. I mean, the thing is so screwed up. All organised to defeat and deceit the ordinary person. But they won't deceive and defeat the farmer with the cows. I met the energy regulator. I wiped the floor of them. I met five, me and another man, met five so-called experts from the ESB, and not one of them could answer a question I made, and very few had a qualification in electrical engineering. Our arts degrees and environment and our baloney. And none of them could count. All they could say at the end, that's government policy and take it or leave it. There were 237,758 households in arrears on the electricity bill in the same month. Now, this is getting a bit complex here. We'll read that again. In the last 3 months of 2019, households collectively owed 53 million on their energy bills. This then peaked to 111 million in the third quarter of 2023. These figures also reveal that 25% of households were in arrears on their gas bill, the highest proportion ever reported by the CRU figures. This translates to 170,000 households in arrears in April 2004. There were 237,758 households in arrears in their electricity bills in the same month. Okay, we'll have to do with that. In terms of disconnection for non-payment, CRU said that 334 households were disconnected from their electricity bills. 334 households were disconnected. Any of them like to tell me, how did you vote in the last election? I'll bet you there were households connected that voted Green. I'll bet you there is. Oh, and they'll hear, the prayer can't pay the bill. Who did you vote for? Well, I voted for Fianna Fáil. Sure, that like came to my granny sooner than you know. I voted for him. And I said, you deserve what you get. In terms of disconnection, so there was 334 households were disconnected from their electricity. Now, and 508 from gas across February, March and April. So the first 3 months of the year, the figures for disconnection are 334 for electricity and 580 for gas. And that was in the coldest weather ever. So now, any old lady, were you freezing at home, who did you vote for? When you had your health, who did you vote for? Now, and when they get you in your nursing home, they'll still screw you. And you'll still vote Fianna Fáil. And you went out in the European election and vote for Fine Gael now. And that Kelly man out there, he's a nice man, you know. And, Regina Doherty. The devil menges. You deserve what you get. In terms of disconnection for non-payment, CRU said 334 households were disconnected and 580 from their gas in February, March and April of this year. Number of arrears concerning, we get the Labour Party, it's concerning, and Breachmith, it's concerning. Derek Cassidy, this is the fella bonkers.ie. This is the fella that went on radio and I made a complaint and it was rubbish by the Advertising and the Broadcasting Standards Authority. He said because there was no wind at the end of 2023, electricity prices were dearer, when in fact electricity prices get the same money as the fossil fuel. So that was nonsense, and I made my complaint, and the regulator for advertising said, you don't know what you're talking about, right? This is Derek Cassidy. He's the fellow that's supposed to be the expert. So what did he say? So he said it was unsurprising to see an uptick in those in arrears. An uptick. What's an uptick? UPTICK. An uptick in those in arrears on their electricity bills, given the expiry of the government's energy credits. So what he's saying is, the prices are gone through the roof and it's up to the government to bail them out with taxpayers' money, and where are they going to get that? Whereas in actual fact, He can't even understand the basics of how the grid works, that electricity from wind energy has to be paid for the same, and they have to make their money, and there's a racket, and I've explained it big time how they can keep going. They should be gone bankrupt long ago. So, now, he says, this Cassidy fella, head of communications, said it was unsurprising to see an uptick in those in arrears on the electricity bills, given the expiry of the government's energy credits. It's important that suppliers work with consumers to ensure these numbers don't continue to creep higher, he said. Bull manure, you dirty old egot, you. Come on here and debate with me, Derek Cassidy. You got away with it because the regulator sided with you. What's the consumer supposed to do? What's the consumer going to do? He was cold. They're using heat in July 2024 because of the cold weather. He didn't lie, but the government lied about climate change. They told us we'd be roasting hot. Why don't you look at the real cost? The real cause. Work with customers to ensure these numbers don't continue. How are you going to pay your way? The companies is nearly broke. The wind companies is broke. The solar companies are broke as far as I can see. But the wind companies are totally broke. Right? And what's the consumer supposed to do? He has only one say, and that's to vote. And this thing about changing suppliers is a load of horse manure. You go change to a different supplier, and after 3 months they jack up the price, and you end up running around all the different ones. That's the reality. Don't creep higher. Well, I predict they'll creep higher. It's me that's keeping the price down. I'm fighting the windmills and the solar panels with my planning laws as best I can, and that's keeping down the cost as best I can. The number of people in arrears on their gas still remain close to record high, which is concerning, as you could expect to see this number drop significantly during the summer months. Yeah, you expect. Oh, you expect, and Mary Robinson, the ex-president, I expect, renewables, that's the way to go, renewables, she nods the head up and down, renewables, I expect. We're not interested in expecting. You do the SEA, the Strategic Environmental Assessment, and you do an engineering report on Ireland's electricity. And that proves that you don't need any windmills, you get them to hell out the country, and any solar. They don't work. You can't use them without fossil fuel. They're a scam. St Vincent de Paul, meanwhile, said the government must provide support to families on energy bills. In other words, the taxpayer. As calls for help in that area have risen 68% in 2 years. And we have to supply all the migrant refugee centres with free electricity. It called for an increase in the weekly rate of fuel allowance. Dump it on the taxpayer. And an expansion of the allowance to families in receipt of Working Family Payment, WFP, to support over 100,000 children at risk of energy poverty. Now just consider, folks, we are 100 years into our Irish Republic. 100 years in which technology moved on big time. And here we are with 100,000 children at risk of energy poverty, at risk of having nothing to eat in the morning they can't cook, no dinner in the evening, no electricity, in the dark, no heat. That's what the Irish Republic has come to. And people talk to me and they give me stick about Sinn Féin and the IRA struggle. That's what your Sinn Féin has produced there is bad. Do not fall into the trap of thinking they'll improve this. They'll build more windmills. That is the hard reality of this idiocracy that we live in. Mr. Cassidy added it was likely that energy companies would engage in another round of price cuts. They can't, because they have to write off the cost. They have to buy every single solar farm, no matter whether it's built by BlackRock Developments, some big finance house in Norway. Once they build it and put it up, they are told buy it, and they don't have to buy it, but they do. They buy it, but they buy it off them, but they never collect the cost. They only look for the rate or the interest. So if the wind farm or the solar farm is a billion, they buy it for $1 billion. It's all over the paper, enough to power 50 million homes, and they never collect the cost. Same as if you sold a house and you let the new owner into it, and you never get paid. That's the reality. However, I would call on the government to keep the reduced rate of VAT on energy bills at 9% in this October budget. They'll probably put it up to 68%. They're fit for anything. You see, you must remember voters will vote for them no matter what. And in fact, if they start behaving reasonable, the voters won't vote. They'll reject them. Energy prices are still high, and so are the number of those in arrears. Now is the time for government to add to households' heating and light. Now is not the time for government to add to household heating and lighting costs. Well, it's not a good time for government to add to the cost. But government knows if it doesn't put them in the dark and freeze them and starve them, they won't vote for them. They won't vote for them. How is the Greens going to get voted in if they start behaving reasonably and giving people decent, cheap power? Nobody vote. You have to have them starving. You have to threaten to take their houses off them, their cars off them, their driving licences off them. And that's the same. And Fianna Fáil discovered that, and Fine Gael discovered that. What can we do? Right, folks, you see that article there now on 26 minutes. I'm very sorry. It's there in the Irish Examiner. There's what's happening. You couldn't believe it. Now, can I finish off on one other little thing? Another thing that I think is creeping into this is heat pumps. I think that's creeping into this. Sorry for such a long video. Good luck.